Well, holy shitballs. Does it suck out there? How many of you were just sitting around waiting for me to show up and then I just came right into your ear to shout that shit? Somebody clipped that, by the way. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is what the fuck chaotic, and I'm trying to help you own it. I really am. Unbelievable. We're gonna get into all kinds of stuff today, guys. It has just been an absolute shit show. But we have CPI numbers that, of course, we're going to be covering today, and then we have some interesting earnings that maybe we can try to cover. Hopefully, that they are easy to find. But Jesus, David Moore, yeah, it's the worst day that I've seen in a long time too. We'll get into it, why that's happening, and what you can do in the meantime. Should you be buying this dip? Why or why not? I'll give you my opinions, and I would love to get some of yours as well on this. Whoops. It's been an absolute shit show. That's what I was going to say. Apparently this show is turning into one too. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me hit up the starting five here. We got Jeff Panicka, John Gosselin, Lost One. What's up, my man? It is a bloodbath, bro. You ain't kidding. Froggy, what's going on? Kevin Hawthorne, good to see you in the starting five. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I know I hit the wrong. Here's the thing. This mouse is going to be the death of me. Anybody have a gaming mouse like this? Every time, like, I hit this side button. Well, I won't say every time. Many times I hit this side button, and that's what, I don't know, does crazy things. But yes, thanks, Bodie Beard. All right, so couple things, guys. As we all know, I think by now, I don't know if I really need to give you all of the details, but I'll give you some of them. August CPI data affirmed to market participants that the Federal Reserve will likely remain aggressive in its monetary tightening campaign to restore price stability. Following this report, data from the CME Group showed investors pricing an 82% chance of a 75-point rate hike next week and 18% chance of a full percentage point. I think that the 18% is what makes the most sense to me personally. Flood of reactions from Wall Street strategists poured into our inboxes. Certainly mine. Inflation rate decelerates to 8.3%. The expectation was about 8.1%. Many analysts, and I talked about this yesterday, were expecting inflation to be falling off a cliff. And as I had mentioned before yesterday, I believe, was it Karem? Karem, did you and I talk about this, or was this somebody else on yesterday's stream? I see Karem in here says, stop rate hikes, let the inflation fix itself. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. It just, man, what a shit show. But anyway, let's take a look at this. I talked about the SPY yesterday and how I felt. Somebody was asking me if the 75-point increase was already baked into the market. And I said that based off of the last 4 trading days and some of the sentiment we're seeing around analysts and economists, the expectation was that we were going to see a significant drop in inflation and that we may see some softening from the Federal Reserve, from Jerome Powell. That is not the case now. And I said that, the 390 area on SPY, let's take a look at SPY right now and see where it's at, because it's pretty darn close. The S&P right now is getting absolutely crushed. Here's your SPY ETF, your S&P ETF, sorry. And it's now getting close to that 390. I mentioned yesterday that I thought that 390 was appropriate for the 75-point rate increase, and that this move up going into yesterday seemed as if the sentiment was surrounding around somewhat of a lighter print on CPI. That was not the case, and that includes a significant drop in oil and gas, right? And that did not bring down inflation at all, as it would have, as it would seem. So this is really, really tough stuff. I think that 390 is appropriate for a 75-point rate increase. I got Bodie Beard coming in. I bet 100, but he's on as far as basis point increases. Let me know what you guys think. Are you in Bodie Beard's camp, or do you think that 75 is going to be the route that they go? I think another 75 is actually the route that they go personally. But man, it's just what an absolute awful day. The S&P right now is down about 178 points. The Dow's down 1,276 points. 4% move down on the Dow. Nasdaq's down 5%, 627 points. Even crude oil, which has been going up recently, and what actually was green for part of the day, is also down a third of a percent. Let's not even get started on cryptos, guys. I mean, cryptos are getting absolutely crushed right now. Bitcoin is down 9.5%. This is your 5-minute chart. You can obviously tell when the CPI print came out. So cryptocurrencies also feeling the wrath here. 9.5% Bitcoin is down. Now down below. It's threatening to go below 20,000 as well. Ethereum down almost 7%. Similar type move. So it's being felt everywhere. As the title said in today's stream, should we be buying this dip? And I want to toss this back to you guys. Should we be? And I want to engage in a conversation with you, the viewer, because I can give you my thoughts, and I will, but I also want to hear from you. What are your own thoughts on this? Is this more of a risk-averse environment? Is this a time in which we just sit on our hands and not do anything, or do we buy the blood? Do we buy into fear? And my thoughts are this. I think that the narrative that inflation is going to fall off a cliff is actually still alive. And it would be easy for me to say, no, this isn't a buyable event. No, we're going to see more pain ahead. No, we're going to continue to see inflation run up. And actually, I wanted to kind of tune in, check in on you guys with this, with the poll today. 62% of you say so far that we see high inflation persisting through the rest of the year. I love how 26% of you are voted for what the fuck is happening. Only 15% say that high inflation will not persist throughout the rest of the year. There are some things that I think that are worth talking about as to how we could see inflation come down. There's only really, according to the CPI, according to July's CPI, there's only 2 regions with significant inflation. New England being one of them, and Montana. Interestingly enough, Montana was up another 0.5% about in July. We actually saw inflation come down in certain areas, such as northeast, north central with Michigan. We saw that come down. I'm looking at a couple of other areas where one of the areas where we saw the highest inflation, believe it or not, was in South Carolina. So, but we're seeing it drop in other areas. It was down the most in Texas, New England. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. So New England was actually down 1/3%. So New York, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, that area saw inflation come down pretty significantly. In other areas, we're seeing used car prices come down a lot. We're seeing that come down a ton. Here's what I think could throw a wrench in a lot of that, though. What's up, Don? Good afternoon, my man. There's 2 scenarios in which I think we see the overall market go one way or the other. And I think that your guess is as good as mine. Bodie Beard did mention this, and I was going to bring it up. There's also another big issue coming ahead, the railroad strike. So there's going to be there's potentially a railroad strike that's going to be happening on Friday. That's going to impact 30% of the supply chain in the U.S. It's going to cost the U.S. economy $2 billion a day. How do we think that's going to impact inflation? A whole lot. If that doesn't take place, if there's a negotiation and agreement met between the railroad workers and the U.S. government, I think that we could see actually a pretty decent rally. And I think that we could actually see inflation continue to come down. That's a big if. It's a big if. I think that Don Francho says send it. Are you going long on here? Are you going long, Don? John Brucker says waiting to buy capitulation low. Could it be coming soon? My thoughts. Yeah, so I think we could be getting close to this being a buyable event. I don't think tomorrow is going to be that day. I could be wrong. And one of the reasons why I think I could be wrong is just because of the significance of the drop today, which could be why Don's saying send it. Don could be going the other way here by tomorrow. I'd be curious to see what he says about that because of the reaction that we're seeing. I mean, I don't remember seeing the Dow down 1,200 plus points this year. That's pretty significant. And usually when you see a down day like today, there is some sort of relief rally or dead cat bounce, and that's probably the more likely scenario, meaning that you buy today going into the end of the day, and then you're out by the end of tomorrow, maybe even beginning of the day tomorrow. But there's your S&P on the 5-minute, and it just continues to accelerate going into the end of the day. Last 10 minutes here, we're starting to see some buying. Yeah, Don says, I think we're a little oversold right now. I would venture to say that's probably a good call. You see a lot of buying volume coming in here the last couple minutes of the close, and I'm wondering if there is some institutions and even retail thinking to themselves, this is probably a good opportunity to maybe make a decent flip. But for those of you looking to buy a little bit longer term, for those of you making a swing trade or two, there are some inherent risks and headwinds here. Then you also have the energy side of things, right? Energy is still going to continue to be a huge problem. And we've talked about that on this channel before. Occidental Petroleum, that's down 2% today. We talked about that we talked about Oxy yesterday. And that's still maintaining the trend here. I think that there's definitely opportunity here. Marathon Oil, a fan favorite here on the channel. That's down 2.5%. That to me probably is a buyable event as we head into the end of the year. I think energy is still very much in play. So there are opportunities. I think that I would be a bit nervous if I was just going in on Apple. I mean, just crazy. Look at Apple, man. Down 5.75%. Coming into the close. We're in the final seconds of close. Just crazy day. MMMT says shorts covering at the end of the day. Fair point. Could be happening. Don said today was an alert day. A lot of alerts to buy went off. Market went down south. Alerts went off and then left and right this morning. I'm sure they did. Let's check back in on SPY real quick and see where this could potentially land. I think that 390, like I was talking about yesterday, that 390 area could make some sense. And maybe I'll get some opinions from Don on this too, because I think that 390 area where it came down to test just before this run up, I think could be a spot where the SPY ends up settling out. That's just my general thoughts, just because we've seen that area be tested before. Not to say that it can't go down further, because it certainly can. That's a spot that I would watch first, see where things went. If it held that area, then it start looking at some things, especially as it relates to tech. Microsoft being down 5.5% today makes a lot of sense to think about maybe grabbing something like that up. You have Meta Platforms, aka Facebook, that was down 9.3%. That seems like a lot of bullshit to me. Meta Platforms hit 52-week lows today. I know that Don is probably licking his chops at Meta. So there are opportunities out there. I think, to me, it depends on picking and choosing the right stocks. I think picking and choosing the right stocks to be in. Savvy Money Show had his eye on Google. aka Alphabet. Let's take a look at that one. Yeah, I think that tech could be another area to watch for. Obviously, we're kind of a bit in no man's land. I'm looking at Alphabet, kind of a bit in no man's land, so to speak, on Alphabet, but holding above 104 seems to make sense. Could be definitely a good buying opportunity there for Alphabet. Um, but yeah, some of the big FANG major tech stocks that took an absolute beating today, you know, might be a good opportunity there. And this isn't to say that there's not more pain ahead, but you got to think about risk reward here. And I got to say that I think risk reward on some of this stuff makes a ton of sense. I saw that somebody was buying up SoFi today. Who was it? Oh, Shock City Rocker bought SoFi today at $5.80. Yeah, I wanted to check in on that. Where are we at on SoFi? SoFi, yeah, it was down 8.8%. You know, bro, I'm I'm a holder of SoFi. I would say that I'd be a little bit hesitant going into the Fed decision, but you know, how can you not look at something that's down 9% and think, risk reward's probably not too bad here. I can't say I blame you for taking that. Darren F says my argument against oil is if we are going into recession, people will spend less money, so oil demand will drop. If we don't have a recession, other sectors will bounce much harder than oil. That's an interesting point that you make, because the way that I look at it, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but the way that I look at it is, yes, oil consumption from a travel standpoint may slow, but you think about getting into colder months, and we're still going to have to consume oil to keep our houses warm. So if we are going into a recession, I certainly understand that point. That's a fair argument to make. But when the supply is being constrained so much that and demand isn't even that crazy at this point. I don't think demand's even that crazy right now, but which is probably why we're seeing oil come down a little bit. But when you think about, we have to replenish the SPR, which has practically been emptied. We have to do that here in the US. Then you have potential crises going on in Europe because of gas being shut off, the Nord Stream pipeline being shut off, you know, supply issues there. The US is trying to export as much as we can, but I mean, we just can't keep up. There's no resolution for the supply problem. It almost doesn't matter where the demand sits. I mean, unless we're all just sitting at home and trying to work from home. So, yeah, Bodie Beard says winter is coming. So I definitely hear you, Darren. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that you're wrong, because I think it's a fair point to make. But I just think about how there are so many issues revolving around supply that even with lowered demand, it's still not enough. So how low does that demand have to go? I would love to be able to talk to somebody who's in this space, who is an analyst or studies energy, to come on the show. That would be awesome. Anybody who's watching, if you're watching, you know anybody in the industry who wants to come on and talk to me about this, bring them on. Bring them on. We have Zaldra saying that I bought a lot of Google today, felt a bit more around 106. Looks like it fell a bit more around 106. Is amazing. I think that's fair. Savvy Money Show chiming in. Pro-nuclear party in Sweden looks likely to win and wants 10 to 20 nuclear plants. I'm adding nuclear stocks. I think that's fair too. And more people are warming up to the fact that nuclear power is much safer than it used to be, and actually more environmentally friendly. So I think that's fair. Plutonium, certainly probably an area to go check out. Don bought some Alphabet right before the bell. Froggy did as well. Nicely done. So I think those are ones that are worth taking a stab at. And the only reason is, this isn't to say that I'm guaranteeing that they're going to go up tomorrow, right? That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I think that there's certainly some more volatility ahead. But if you are buying some of these stocks, like your Alphabets, your Meta platforms, Amazon, Apple, you know, the FANG stocks, the FANG conglomerate, you're looking at those and thinking to yourself, how much higher are these going to be a year from now, 5 years from now? What's your time horizon on these? Even tomorrow, what's it going to look like tomorrow on a stock like Meta Platforms that was down nearly 10% today? You know, I feel like risk reward there is very good, very good for something like that. For even for just a short term bounce, I think is very good. And I like what Don said too. Everybody's going to start pricing in a 100-point price rate hike. Jerome comes out with 75, and the market could potentially rally. I would agree with that. Checking in on some of the stocks that are reporting earnings. I don't know if anybody cares about any of these. Evolution Petroleum has earnings today. Expected earnings per share 41 cents. Doesn't look like there's any movement on this just yet. If there is going to be, I think some of these stocks are so tiny that I don't know if we'll see volume on them at all. ASPU, let's take a look at this one. If you guys aren't familiar with that one, we can take a look at that. That stock's down a little bit. Actually closed in the green today. That's at 68 cents. Maybe we won't take a look at that one. I don't know. Innovage, INNV. I'll bring you guys the chart here on some of these. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't think anybody's Soterio says FANG stocks can fall further together with the whole market. I don't know if anybody's arguing that. I think that the real question becomes, what's the risk reward? Like if I know that I have cash on the sidelines that I'm looking to distribute, what am I going after? Right? Like what would be the ones, if I were to buy any, what would be the ones that I go after? I think that the FANGs certainly make sense. Stocks that have pricing power, such as like a Johnson & Johnson. And these are all your grandma's boring ass stocks, right? But the fact of the matter is that these types of stocks, well, maybe not the FANGs, but something like Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble, even like a Costco, for example. Do we really think that anybody's going to stop shopping at Costco? No. And actually, I would venture to say that something like Costco would be leaned on even more during times of recession or tightening of balance sheets. And I'll tell you right now, Costco is expensive based off from a fundamental standpoint. It's expensive, but in an environment where we're seeing CPI numbers really kind of go crazy, and you look at companies that have pricing power, Costco is one of them. Don Stevens says he needs to stop. I spend way too much there. I don't think you're alone in that one. Boogaloo Brown, any shit or legit since it all looks shitty? Yeah, we're gonna do some shit or legit here later on. I think it's a good day to do that. Darren says I'm 100% in the same boat as you, that we can still see inflation drop off a cliff in the coming months. Says Darren, yeah, I think it's certainly possible, but some things have to go our way, and I don't think it slows down if if the railroad workers go on strike. Let's check out Union Pacific today. That stock was down 3.5%. It's now down another 0.5% after hours. That's gonna be really rough. If the railway workers can't come to an agreement by Friday, I think it's gonna be a really volatile week next week. And inflation's gonna continue to be a big problem. As I'd mentioned, 30% of supply chain is going to be impacted, which means that supplies on anything is going to be lower. Prices are going to go higher, and demand is going to remain. I mean, people still need to keep the lights on. People are still trying to build shit. I think that it's going to be tough, man. But yeah, I think that if this doesn't become a problem, if this isn't as big of an issue as some are making it out to be, or doesn't turn into a big problem, then I think that there is potential. We could potentially see inflation fall off a cliff. Maybe we're seeing some lagging indicators, and we know that CPI can be lagging, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that lagging that much. We'll see. Gerardo has calls for TQQQ next week. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you. Is this iBob? I'm just going to go with iBob. When you buy a stock, you don't think of risk rewards because that's gambling. You buy a stock because you believe in the value of that stock is cheap. Why wouldn't that? I disagree with that. When you buy anything, you think about risk reward, and you buy it because you believe in the value of that stock. I mean, what do you think risk reward is? If it has low risk reward, it's because most likely it is cheap, right? You're looking at Meta Platforms and looking at the risk reward there. What's the risk that something could go wrong with this company? And what's the potential reward that comes out of it? You buy a stock for the reward, and you buy a cheap stock because it's low risk. I think you're saying the same thing. I'm not quite sure what you're going for there. Buy Walmart, Costco. Yeah. The only problem with me on Walmart is that they've just had some issues managing inventory. Target's been in the same boat. You know who hasn't? Costco. They've been doing it right through this entire year so far. So that's why I lean on Costco. Plus, they have an amazing dividend, and I think that we're about due for a special dividend on Costco, which always makes the stock go crazy. So that's why I say Costco is going to be the better one out of those three. But you can't go wrong there with any of those. Checking out South. Gerardo says he's got Southwest calls. So going long on Southwest on the airlines. That's ballsy, bro. That is ballsy. Let's take a look at the chart there on Southwest. Let's see here. Southwest was down 3.33%. How's it doing on the year? So obviously probably not good, right? I just wanted to see the actual statistics here. So year to date, Southwest is down 15%. Over the last 52 weeks, it's down 23. So one could argue that it's actually not as bad as some of the other stocks that we've seen fall off a cliff, right? But it's still not looking good. And if we do end up entering ourselves into a recession, I think that we start to see Southwest really kind of, and the airlines in general really get hit. So I think it's a bit ballsy to go on that, but I wish you well. Yes. Hit that thumbs up. Appreciate you. Just believe harder until it's green. Yeah. Who cares about risk? Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying, Don. Jeff Fonica chiming in on the risk reward argument. I can appreciate that too. Okay. Darren chiming back in. Airlines flights were one of the biggest decliners on CPI reports. So that is a ballsy move. Yeah. Hey, sometimes that ends up paying off. But yeah, I think it's a bit. When we just got done talking about risk reward, that is a risky bet. I think for the airlines for sure. You guys are cracking me up with the marriage jokes here. Okay, so I did want to check back in on to see if there's anything worth looking at as far as any of the earnings that you know what. I don't think so. I was just looking at some of the stuff that was moving. ASPN, Aspen doesn't seem to be doing shit. I really did try, guys, on the earnings today, but it's just not. INNV, no movement. This is why I didn't put earnings reaction today, because I was really on the fence about this. We do have some earnings coming up later in the week that'll be worth talking about. Adobe being one of those. And then there's one other one that just got lost on me. But Adobe is going to be the big one. That's going to be on Thursday afternoon, I believe. Thursday afternoon, I think I will not be here. We have some plans on Thursday. So with the Medify crew. So I don't think I'm going to be here, but we'll see. Shannon, do I think that the downtrend continues tomorrow? I think that there is a strong possibility that it does. I think that we could see a bit of a pop overnight, but my thing is, why would anybody be buying it up? Why would anybody be buying it up tomorrow other than maybe trying to play some sort of dead cat bounce, right? There's still the fear from the Fed that we have to get through. Clarity from the Fed, how they're going to attack inflation. Or do they view this as a lagging indicator to the point to where they're only going to raise it 75 basis points? Because I think that anything less than that is off the table right now. Or are they going to go super aggressive and hit that 100 point rate hike right out the gate? Because if they do, I think that it's going to be super volatile too. So I think until we get some sort of clarity from the Fed, that is very possible for us to see another down day tomorrow. You got it. You got it. Okay. So let's do some shit or legit. Last few minutes of today's stream, and we'll call it a day. Let me know what you guys think, and keep the questions flowing. I like that Shannon was coming in asking about the overall market, what I think is going to happen tomorrow, and I would love to hear from you guys on what you think is going to happen. Give me some thoughts on this. And we'll go from there. So if you guys are new to the channel, first of all, I would appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Every day I go live from 3:45 to 4:30 thereabouts and cover whatever's going on in the market, particularly when there's earnings to be talked about. That's my main bread and butter. I cover the earnings and react to those live as they are happening. If you guys want to see some more of that, make sure you're hitting that subscribe and notification bell as I go live at 3:45 Monday through Thursday every day and hang out with you guys. So with that, every day I put, not every day, there's many streams where I talk about the my shit or legit segment. Bodie Beard has AR. If you guys want me to react to the stocks that you're looking at, how many stocks out there are actually shit, or how many of them are gems and are maybe legit going into a crazy day that we saw today, that maybe we can pick up some decent opportunities? So put it in the chat, SOL, your favorite ticker, and I'll be happy to react to those, give you my thoughts, what I think. Of course, none of this is financial advice. I'm just giving you my thoughts on what is going on with said stock and whether or not I think it's shit or legit. And then you can take that for what you will. So we have AR being one of them. Bodie Beard's asking about AR. Is it shit or legit? Let's take a look at AR. Antero Resources. I'm going to pull this up. Here's your chart. Antero Resources. AR is the ticker symbol. If we look at AR for what it is, it's an independent oil and natural gas company that acquires, explores for develops and produces natural gas liquids and oil properties in the U.S. So it is a natural gas play. Since over the last year, it's up 141%. Year to date, it's up 124%. They have a pretty decent dividend as well. And looking at this, I'm sorry, take that back. They currently do not pay a dividend. That was past dividend history. So take that back. No dividend for Antero. Nevertheless, looks like a pretty decent, strong buy, in my opinion, especially, and we've talked about this, with supply being a real big issue for natural gas. I think Antero stands to benefit from a lot of what's going on in Europe. So in my opinion, Bodie Beard, I think that Antero, while it was down 3.5% today, it's legit. Holding pretty well above the 50-day moving average, and it is looking pretty darn good despite having a rough day, but it was really just a reaction in the overall market. I don't think there's anything to hate about this stock. Despite the moves that it's had, remember, I said 142% over the last year. It's up 124% year to date. Forward PE on this is only a mere 5 times next year's earnings. 5. This is why Warren Buffett's continuing to buy up Occidental Petroleum, even though that's gone up a ton, because I don't think it's stopping, guys. I really like AR. I think that's a good one. Sunrun. Boo Brown asking about Sunrun. Is Run shit or legit? And Jeff Panicka shared an interesting graphic within our Chaos Crew community, which, by the way, if you hit the join button next to subscribe, or you go down and click the link in the description at ownthechaos.com. You could be a part of the chaos crew. But he put up an interesting graphic, and I certainly appreciate that, Jeff. It's been a really tough year for me making calls, but this is one that I hit on the head, and that was Sunrun, and that was many of the renewable energy stocks. Enphase was another one, and ENPH. Come on, B. ENPH was another one. That stock's been up 50%. So since June, there was 5 stocks of renewable energy stocks that I thought were worth taking a look at. Enphase was certainly one of them. Sunrun was also in that list. Plug Power was another one. They've all done extremely well since I called them out back in June. And I don't think that this is over for a stock like Sunrun. We heard that Germany is scrambling and trying to find alternative sources of energy because of what's going on with the Nord Stream pipeline. And I think that's going to continue to grow. Let's not forget that there's also this push for renewable energy in general, but it's been enhanced and exasperated because of what's going on in Russia and the supply issues there. So I do think that Sunrun is actually legit. We take a look at what they have going on. They're still not profitable, which of course is an issue, but the growth here is the real story. So I do think Sunrun is legit. I would like to say that I prefer Enphase over all of them, only because Enphase is profitable, and they grew 62% over last quarter. If you guys caught the reaction that we had for Enphase on their earnings report, 62% last quarter from their last earnings report, and that was just unbelievable. I would be really excited to learn about what they've been doing in the current quarter that we're in. That is going to be very interesting to see where we're at come next earnings report, which I believe July 26th is when we heard from them. So we won't hear from them again till October. So only about halfway through the quarter for Enphase. But I don't think you can go wrong with Sunrun either, Boogaloo Brown. Jeff Panicka, Calm. Shit are legit. Calm right now is Main Foods. This is Dividend Aristocrat, if I'm not mistaken. And correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe it's not. I might be wrong on that. Company's ability to paying a current dividend. They're not a dividend aristocrat. I thought they were. Either way, they have a pretty decent dividend. Let's take a look at this. So over the last year, so last 52 weeks, the stock's up 61%. Year to date, it's up 51%. And obviously performing very well. To me, Jeff Panicka, when we talk about this, and I know that you know, but just for everybody watching, I think looking at something like Main Foods is an excellent stock to look at in the environment that we're in. If we think that we're headed into a recession or inflation is still going to be a problem, pricing power. You guys heard me talk about this earlier in the stream. Pricing power is going to be the stock that you want to lean on. Food, you have to eat. You have no choice. So these companies got you by the balls. I hate to break it to you. I think, in my opinion, that this is going to be a good stock to continue to hold on to because they have pricing power. As inflation goes up, so will the cost of food. They know that you got to eat, so they're gonna be just fine. Jeff Panicka, this stock is legit. Okta, Carlos. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get to Okta in a second. MNDY, Michael is asking about MNDY. That stock fell 8.5% today. I'm not familiar with MNDY. Monday.com. Let's take a look at Monday.com and figure out what exactly it is, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that also don't know Monday.com. But we can take a look at it. Over the last year, it's down 67%. Year to date, it is down 57%. Monday.com is develops software applications in the United States, Europe, and the Middle East, Africa, and internationally. It provides Work OS operating systems, a cloud-based visual work operating system that consists of modular building blocks used and assembled to create software applications and work management tools. It looks like it's in the CRM space. So I think this is an interesting one to look at, just given the space that it's in. It is not profitable. let me take a look at growth here for a little bit and see what we got. Year over year revenue growth was at 84% according to their last earnings report. So that is actually pretty impressive as far as growth is concerned. You know what? I'm going to go with that. This is legit. I would have to do a lot more digging on this, but I'm going to go. It's a legit. It's got a $6.33 billion market cap, and they have revenue that's coming in at 130 million. I would say that's probably a bit expensive, but given the growth trajectory on this, I would say that's might be worth paying a premium on. Last time they came out with earnings and absolutely crushed it. They came in with a loss of 33 cents, which beat expectations by 42. They also came in and crushed it on revenue as well, beating by $5 million on expectations. I think that this is actually a legit stock. Monday.com. You learn something every day. There's 10,000 stocks out there. So it's really hard to know to know about every single one out there, right? But this one actually looks pretty legit. I think Monday.com could be one worth taking a look at. Okta. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Okta. We just covered this one on earnings just the other week. And I think the numbers here are actually quite good. You know, it hasn't been performing well as far as the stock. So you have a lot of risk there. But listen, cybersecurity isn't going anywhere. And I think Okta is going to turn the ship around. From a profitability standpoint, it's been really tough for them, but it's oversold. And I still like the company regardless. I like what they do. Okta, in my opinion, is legit, Carlos. Thank you for that one. And let's cover a couple other ones. ZTS, shit or legit on ZTS. This is another one that I'm not quite sure about. Zoetis is a company that develops, manufactures, and commercializes animal health medicines, vaccines, and diagnostic products in the United States and internationally. So it's basically a pharmaceutical company for pets, is what I'm gathering here. Earnings, they are profitable. They did miss earnings last time around, so growth has been a problem for them, which is why the stock is probably down. Forward multiple here is around 33 times. So is that right? Let me double cross-reference this. Yeah, that's right. Around 33 times next year's earnings is what this is trading at. So despite the move down, it's super expensive. I got to tell you, being profitable is great, but the growth here is certainly slowing down. And that's an expensive stock. I'm going to go with shit. The company isn't shit. The stock right now is. It's just too expensive still, especially in this environment. Thanks, Jeff Bonica. So these are the stats from my top 5 renewable energy stocks from June. Sunrun's up 44%, ChargePoint's up 20%, Enphase is up 54%, and Plug's up 77%. Not too shabby. Appreciate that. If you guys want more stocks like that, make sure you're hitting that ownthechaos.com link down in the description below. Would love to have you guys over there on my new Patreon. We are moving over into the Patreon space, trying to make things easier on my life. I've kind of had everything everywhere. So it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to get everything over, but we're working through it. And it's actually a great platform. It's going to help me out. We have a Discord in there too. So please feel free to help support the channel and head on over to ownthechaos.com and sign up for my Patreon. Couple comments here. T.I. Brand says the CPI report was unequivocal negative for equity markets, and rightfully so per Fed's remark a week ago. The hotter than expected report means much more pain to come. I think that is safe to say. He said I was at the mall, super busy. People don't care. Yeah, there's still lots of money floating around. That's for sure. CPI is cooling down from 8.5 to 8.3. People need to chill. Yeah, maybe just not enough as much as people were hoping. I think that's what the big problem here. Carnival Cruise may not exist if there's in 3 years at a 6% Fed rate. That's probably true. What a garbage stock. Beka Deuce. Did you change your name? Thoughts on DraftKings? We talked about DraftKings yesterday with the NFL season here and NBA starting soon. Author Cassie Wood's team, yeah, I know, has been buying weekly. So here's my thing with DraftKings, my man. I'll just briefly say this. It's shit, in my opinion, just if we're going off the shit or legit. There's many better opportunities out there. Check out Penn National. I don't know why people don't look at Penn National. And one of the big reasons is because they have a path to profitability in the sports betting space. They're the only company that does. They have a culture of barstool stoolies that consists of 70 million people that they don't have to spend advertising on. They just send out emails and throw it on their website. And it's growing. And it's growing to the point to where it's becoming profitable by the end of this year. This NFL season is going to be fantastic for sports betting. And I'm not saying that DraftKings won't move, because it probably will. So if you're just looking to buy DraftKings because you want to make some money, I think that rising tides lifts all ships. So the industry itself is going to do well. But why not just be with a company that already knows how to be profitable with this shit? There's nobody else out there that is. That includes Caesars and MGM and FanDuel. Penn is it. So, anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back here tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to do it all over again. We're going to cover what's going on in the market. Hopefully we'll see something a little bit better than we saw today. I don't know how much worse it can get. Famous last words, right? Let's knock on wood for that one. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hit that notification bell and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And before you leave, also hit that thumbs up. Help show support for the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.